Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the Cluster Puck Podcast, part of the MHRT Network. Here at Center Ice, I am Nick. Beside me is, shortly, is Brit. Couple things. Pardon the scratchiness in my voice. I'm just getting over a cold. So it's going to sound a little funny. I still have a little bit of a cough, so I might need to pause my mic every so often to either take a drink or to cough. So apologies for that. I also decided to blend in with the background today. So so apologies if just looks like a wall talking. Okay. So we had a week this week. And we're going to talk to you guys all about it. Here's Brit. Hey, Brit.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How's it going? Okay.
Good. We're just apologizing to everyone because I'm just getting over a cold, so I might need to pause my mic a couple times.
Okay.
Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow the MHRT Network so you can get notified when shows like the Cluster Puck Podcast go live. You can follow them on the various social media platforms of your choosing. If you want to follow us, you can do so at the Cluster Puck Podcast on Facebook and at Cluster Puck Ads on Twitter. Now that the season is beginning, we're starting to bring back the game day and final score posts and other news like that. Have been a bit shaky, obviously, with the illness, but I'm now that I'm coming out of that, I'm going to be able to get back on the train there. Okay, Brett, let's say the hard part. The Avalanche are 0-4-0, and I guess the first question is, did you see this coming? Did you see this even happening?
No. Everything we said, that was the key to, we knew that it was going to be a hard start. But it feels like everything that we discussed for the keys to weathering this storm, we have done basically the exact opposite between goaltending, playing the simple game, putting the big guys on less minutes, and our all-stars showing up. Short of the power play, they've been as non-existent as everyone.
Yeah. It's a little tough to just because we were talking about all these important things and where we're going to finish in the standings. I was even getting some tweets, some messages sent my way, as far as like, hey, talk me off the ledge. Like, we got to, have to, all these types of things about like, hey, when do we panic? When do we worry? Got a few of those across the different social medias. And let's get this out for here right now. Everybody relax.
Right.
It's the first 4 games. It's not a pretty 4 games, and we'll get into that in a second.
Right. The panic button is definitely that little light beeping, the cinematic, like
exactly. But everybody immediately, as soon as everyone, when you go 0-4-0, everybody starts to go.
The Columbus game was hard to watch, and the Bruins are turning into a team. They were the ones a couple games last year that were some of our more startling losses of the season. But we kind of went into that game. Sorry, I got the hiccups, thinking surely there's no way we don't see a completely different team. Granted, we went from anticipating the loss of Nuke, Gabe, and Lecky to be the start of our year as a struggle. Immediately, Drouin is gone. Granted, he was there for some of our worst losses. In fact, you got to wonder if he was hurt prior, because he was invisible in those first few losses. The first few losses being far more embarrassing, I think. But it was so easy to blame Georgiev. And then we added Devon Toews. How many teams can we go into this season just jacked about our defensive depth, and immediately it feels we're back to Makar played 28 minutes the other night. Granted, there was a lot of power play time, but we are immediately back. It feels like we're in the slog of February form right now.
It does.
Looked exhausted, exasperated, where you would think that they would come out with a bite and just a desperate hunger. Those first 2 periods, I'm not sure the right word, but just sort of embarrassing, really. And I don't know if it's embarrassing for us or them, because as much as I'm one of those people that can't stand that guy in the stands, we sat by some of them while we were at a game yelling, shoot. I mean, it really came down to things as simple as shoot the puck. And this isn't a team that generally struggles in some of the most simple ways, where it comes down to a hunger, and they just need to play simple. They need to simplify the game. They just play the way that we see Utah and Anaheim, which never thought I'd be so nervous to play Anaheim. Winning out of just playing the simple game and putting in the grunt work. And I feel like that's what we have to do before we can find, this team that we know as a speedy, truly dazzling at times team. It's just not there. And granted, you got to consider, we had 4 guys in Steinberg, Kovalenko, Malinsky. I think I'm missing even 2 more that have played less than 10 NHL games. So it's a really hard mental struggle between making excuses and being absolutely furious, because when it comes down to it, the Ducks aren't 0-4. Utah's not 0-4. Montreal's not 0-4. Doesn't matter how new your guys are, you're still an NHL team and you need to win NHL games. And at this point, we have, pissed away our homestand. We do have a relatively easy schedule, thank God, for the next couple of weeks. I mean, looking ahead, it's a winnable schedule, but at this point, it feels like we can lose to anyone, and we will lose to anyone.
It's a winnable schedule, ? Right. I totally agree.
The last 2 games, we're going to need better goaltending. We're still in the 800s, but it is not a direct result of simply too many goals to conquer, not being able to outscore our goalie problem. Would it be nice if Georgiev came out and stole a game? Yeah.
100%. 100%.
But he was not the problem last night. He simply wasn't. And at this point, it's just we're getting in this cyclical motion of nothing is operating even functional at the same time. Power play, we have scored probably less than a quarter. I was going to find the numbers, but not even a quarter of our goals 5-on-5. The 5-on-5 is simply debilitating this team. Granted, we've got McKinnon at 7 points. We've got Rantanen 7 or 8 points. Makar's at 7 or 8 points, but those are hugely reliant on the power play. And it's honestly even more upsetting, because when you're a team that's struggling, essentially all you need to do is keep your head above water and win the special teams battle. And while the PK is less than desirable, embarrassing also, Shillington, awful. I mean, our defense is single-handedly losing us games, and then the big guys aren't showing up 5-on-5. But really all we should have to do is win the special teams battles and just stay afloat the rest of the game. And we absolutely cannot do that. Yeah.
I mean, you look at the metrics, right? And you brought up a couple things that I'll bring back up here in a second. But in 4 games, the Avalanche gave up 25 goals.
Mm-hmm. We are setting all of the wrong records.
Oh, yeah, that's terrible.
I think we set a record for 4 games in a row, letting in an open net goal. I think not even franchise. I think that's NHL. I believe we pulled ahead out of Minnesota mid-tacular and letting in 4 open net goals, losing the opening games. I don't think that only 2 times since the team has been made have we gone 0-4.
Yeah.
And then the first 2 games, most goals in the first 2 games ever.
Yeah.
For this franchise.
And that definitely overshadows the 13 goals that you have in 4 games, which
and the fact that you've got Nathan McKinnon hitting his milestone.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you'd think that would be the number that the other teams would be at. 13. It's like, oh, okay, whatever, right? 12 is kind of the limit that I had for 1 goal per period at this point. But it's you went and I pulled up the power play numbers. So you 8 for 13 as far as
We're 3
how
for
many of
3
those
last
power
night.
play goals.
In what
Right?
world are you 3 for 3 and lose the game?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Now, here's a couple things that I was mentioned with as far as what people saw, and we'll kind of dissect this together. So, first one, I think we know who this was from, but this was goaltending issues. I can understand this, but here's my thing. Out of these 25 goals, I will excuse safely about a third away from Georgiev, right?
Yeah. And
Because
I think it's
it
part
just
of the
happened to be
cycle.
really bad puck luck, or the defense left him out to dry. Like, it
I
was
think that
just
there was a span
atrocious.
in the game last night where there was 3 wide open breakaways, but the problem is he's being beat on low danger shots
Mm-hmm.
almost as often as high danger, and simply that's not sustainable. But the
Yep.
problem is, and we knew this going in, we are handcuffed. We have $37 million sitting in the press box. We simply don't have a better option right now.
Yep.
I don't have faith in Anaheim. I know that it is going to be time to start him, and I know that Bednar's coming out saying, this is our guy, we got faith. I guarantee you the conversation in the locker room is not nearly as supportive as what's being said on TV, but you have to. You have to support your goalie. There is
Mm-hmm.
nothing more important than getting your goalie in the right mindset,
Oh,
and
yeah.
going out there and just bashing them on TV
Yeah.
isn't how you
And
get.
yeah, and like I said, I'm not excusing his play at all, right?
Right.
There were a lot where it's like, okay, dude, where was your form?
Yeah. Hard side shots.
Keep your
Yep.
toes sealed? Why didn't you keep your head against the post? Like, there were a
The
lot
hard
where it's like,
angles, the
okay,
cheating.
dude,
You can tell
but
that he's overthinking everything. And my thing is,
he
at what point do we question our goaltender coaching? I know that we
potentially,
supposedly have some of the most elite goaltender coaching, but it's so blatantly obvious that he's thinking and not playing loose. And goalies
yep,
simply cannot be elite, which we know he's very capable of, when they are thinking and then reacting. And that goes for the
exactly.
entire team.
And I think, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you being a goaltender, it definitely helps you be more relaxed when the defense in front of you, which this was another
Yeah.
thing that was talked about, when the defense in front of you is playing at least relatively what they need to be doing. But
Right.
in those 4 games, Britt, I
People
just saw the
saying
defense all over the place. Like, not a
exactly.
single one
People are
was in a
saying that
place
they're
where they needed
playing
to be.
that they can't trust Georgie, and it's a mutual distrust. You see him shake his head after his third breakaway in a 4-minute span last night. Sometimes you need to hunker down and play nothing but D and just pray that you get we need to play a 0-0 hockey and pray for, a power play goal.
Mm-hmm.
It is time to put him on a pedestal and play like the net is open. And that's the only way you're going to get him out of it. We're so far. And then the second he shows a glimpse of light, we go into that game last night. And I'm honestly, my biggest concern right now is Cale Makar. Cale Makar looks exhausted. He's making terrible, brutal mistakes. Shillington looks honestly, Malinsky and DeHaan were probably the 2 best players on the ice for the majority of the game last night.
Potentially, other than the new kid that got in a fight. I just forgot his name.
Steinberg. Yeah. Have you ever seen Steinberg's dad during
Steinberg. Yeah, he was filming the whole
So you're
thing.
going to rely on a 19-year-old first game in the NHL to come out and fight Nikita Zadorov to light a fire under your asses? Like, that's really what it's going to take. And Godspeed for that guy. Props to him. But
it worked, which is the strange thing.
We are paying guys a lot more money that should be taking command. Not that I expect them to do it in the way of fighting, but it shouldn't take him. Matt Steinberg shouldn't be the driving factor in lighting a fire under this team's ass, especially when it'd be one thing if we were back at game 2, or if we had just one single game, but we're approaching game 5. Isn't like terror zone yet, but when you hit 7 or 8, that's where they're going to be pressed to make some rash decisions, whether they be roster. I don't think that they're going to fire Bednar. I don't think it's even on the table.
No, they're
but
not even close to that.
It is where you start seeing trades, contract decisions changing, roles that they don't want to, but they have to because they simply can't continue to do nothing. They absolutely cannot do nothing.
Yeah. Well, and another thing is, you look at the team that's presented, right? We even brought up that there have been now 4 official first NHL games already for the Avalanche within the first 4 games.
Yeah.
Look who's out. You're missing Landeskog.
You got Miles Wood on the first line.
Yeah, and now Miles Wood's going to be gone. Taves was gone. Lekkonen's gone. I mean, you're missing 5 guys right there, right? Yeah. And so you can't really say that you have the full team when you really didn't.
Right, we're thin.
Right, because they have that team, so to speak, clicks, right? It's a very well-oiled machine, right? So you have to also consider that injuries have played a bit of a role, and rookies, being rookies that they are bound to make some mistakes. Cal Ritchie, awesome goal, but he had some mistakes.
It's horrible. Absolutely. Right? Gerard and Manson, horrible.
Yeah, I mean, and that even goes with seasoned veterans too. But
Middlestat,
but what it doesn't excuse
our most successful 5-on-5 player as far as possession metrics.
Sure.
McKinnon, Makar, and Rantanen are terrible possession metrics right now. Absolutely terrible.
My biggest, I guess, frustration from these first 4 games wasn't the fact that your offense couldn't do anything. They gave effort. I'm not necessarily confident in saying that, but they gave something, right?
Right, and that's the same what I say with goaltending. It's never about not wanting it or not trying as hard as you can, but it's not doing it in the correct
execution.
Way. Right.
The question, right? And that's the hard part, is because like defensively, that was where my biggest concern came from, because so many of those, I mean, I could go back and look at replay after replay after replay, and you can see the Avalanche just forgetting that they have an opponent that's coming down
there's
the
200
spot.
feet on that ice. Yeah.
Well, that too.
Opened that goal last night.
They leave the slot wide open, right? And it's like
that's where you can
do that, because Georgiev, he can only do so much, right? And being pulled, in Georgiev's case, being pulled twice, that's not really a confidence booster. But Anaheim, who was supposed to kind of go and maybe help that out,
he came in
on the same pace. Like,
almost
he didn't
immediately was given a clean slate, which granted, coming in cold is hard, but that's your damn job, dude. That's your job.
It's like it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy.
He had every chance to win that game for us against Columbus, and he was just as horrific as Georgie's ever been.
Yeah. So again, I'm not pulling excuses for everyone, for anybody or anything. Obviously, there was a lot to be frustrated about. Definitely a lot that needs to be fixed. But at the same time, you need to kind of, people need to step back and look at this high level, right? You need to know that your power play looks great.
And that's a huge
good news, right?
That's not always the case with us.
And that's exactly. Your face-off is still sub 40%, which that's common, right? But you're still able to get, away with closer now games,
Sure feels like a Pierre Edward Bellemare would be a really positive influence on this team right now.
Yeah, you never know. Another text that I got was about the officiating in these games. Again, I don't want to come up with excuses for the way the Avalanche played. Right. However, if we're going to call spades, we're
certainly operating with all odds against us. That missed call on Kovalenko was wild. Absolutely wild.
Games. Yep. The most recent being the Bruins one, where I could think of 5 off the top of, like, this is off the top of my head.
Steinberg's helmet literally ripped off his head by a blade under his helmet. I mean, I don't even know in what world that could be missed. It literally ripped the helmet off his head.
And when she says blade, by the way, I think you meant blade of stick, right?
Yeah.
Not blade of foot.
No,
blade of stick. It wasn't that bad. But so, like, the missed high sticking call, the Marchand embellishment call.
Yes. Which, who knows, though? I've kind of wondered, he might have not been embellishing. He might have just gone down that early or that easily, because Manson wrecked him. He left the game for quite a bit of time.
He did. And like I said, I'm not excusing that Rantanen, I believe it was Rantanen, that the check, like he hit him, like that's
Right.
not the excuse.
But it wasn't.
But it was an
The hit
odd
on
way to
Miles
fall
Wood
about
wasn't an interference, then
that one, and that was the one that I was the most upset with. And
it was late. I don't care. It was late.
I can't bring myself to be like, oh no, I can see, just the angle of the launch, the way that it was up against the face in the facial area, a dangerous
And I know people
hit.
love the term like admiring your pass, but there was somebody in the direct path and
it was away from the
wasn't
puck.
eligible to be checked anymore. So you don't have to, you still have to be on guard, but he shouldn't be expecting to be blown up like that when he's no longer eligible to be checked. The puck had left his stick more than a couple. I mean, it just,
oh yeah, long time ago.
And it's just compounding. It wouldn't be so frustrating if it wasn't just like, there's our third line who probably belongs on the fourth line, but is playing on the first line. Now he's out too. Like,
yep, 100%.
We are so unlucky right now.
And across those 4 games, multiple missed tripping calls. Like I think in the Islanders game, there were at least 2. There was the can opener where it's like, dude, how do you miss that? The one where Nate literally steps on someone's blade as they're yanking it up. Like, the officiating was not good.
Absolutely nothing is in our favor at this point.
No, the puck luck is not there. The officiating's not there.
And what I understand down to when you're in these times, it's the guys. It's one of the highest played players in the league. Your Calder or your Hart Trophy winner, Ted Lindsay winner, your Norris Trophy winner. It's on them. It's their job.
Yeah.
We can't expect Matt Steinberg to be turning this team around. It's on them to turn this around. They're going to have to will some positivity to this team.
Yeah, 100%. And again, we know that your players like Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar, like they will, you know that they're going to be, busting their butts to turn things around, right? It's going to be the rest of the team.
Open net goal, we still had a chance to come back last night.
Yeah, you were still right in the game up until the last 2 minutes.
Last year, we didn't count this team out until the buzzer was. We could be down by 2 goals with 3 minutes, and I never count this team out. And that feeling it's hard to not want to feel that, but you saw that puck go in the open net simply because Nathan McKinnon just.
Yeah, and that's the thing is. And I guess let's just switch into that. I'm kind of tired dwelling on the past. It's hard. It's hard when you're winless, but let's talk about kind of the fix. Things that might be the fix, right? The thing that you just mentioned is going to be one of mine is I don't care what player you are, whether you're brand new or you're a Hart Trophy winner. Play hockey. Just a clean
We're feeling the departures of our vets, those vets that I've always, said are so important. Our Helms, our Johnsons, our Jack Johnsons. Jack Johnson had himself a hell of a game against us. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he was not expecting that game. I'm sure he was dreading this game, getting his ass kicked once again. But apparently Jack Johnson is just the little magic piece for these teams, as we seem to have been beat by the Blackhawks and now coming up on the Blue Jackets more than ever when he's playing for them. Yeah. And apparently he's still a serviceable defenseman in the NHL. So he wasn't exactly the problem. Yeah. But those personalities are missed. And this is where we need to see, our big guys stepping up and taking those roles.
Yeah. And I think it goes right back down to fundamental hockey. Right. Play with stupid. Don't play desperate, so to speak, because that was one thing that Mark Rycroft kept saying, gotta play with desperation. I wouldn't call it desperation. I'd call it more like urgency.
Yeah.
Right. That's something that we've even struck tones on for the last however long this podcast has been going, seasons wise. I think a couple seasons now.
Right.
Is to play with urgency, right? Yeah. Get things where they need to go. Know what you're going to do next thing. That was one thing that just you could tell that the Avalanche did not trust themselves nor their teammates when it came to these important decisions. For example, I think of the Bruins game, this most recent one. Sam Girard, by himself, nobody around him, coming down the slot. Shoot. That right there is the way to just. I don't care if you miss. shoot it.
That's part of the
Right?
overthinking, and that's dumb it down and then build it back up. But right now we need to
Exactly.
dumb it down, hit the net and shoot the puck.
Just
Shoot the
shoot.
puck and
Get
hit
in.
the puck.
You
You're
don't have
going
to make.
for, if we need a rebound, some dirty, that's where we're going to make our own luck. But if you don't shoot, you don't score.
Exactly. Right. Too many times the Avalanche have been caught, this especially last season, trying to make the game look pretty.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
Trying
the
to make
same
it
moment
all
with
look
Gerard
beautiful.
standing square in front of the net with a lane and making that
Yep.
pass physically hurt. It made
was
my
not fun to
body.
watch. I screamed at the TV when that happened.
Especially when
Like, I
he's a
was
dude
not
that can
happy with
shoot.
it.
He's a guy
Yeah.
that scores goals.
He knows he knows
You
what
put
he's
in
doing.
all of the work to get there, and then
Yep.
pass.
Additionally, I saw many times Cale Makar manning that point.
Man.
It's just like make a fake and shoot, but instead he makes a fake and then looks to see how far the defense
Especially
can
when in
jump.
that very same game, we got to see what I truly feel might be the best slap shot in the NHL. Bomb. That guy's got a bomb. Just put it through there. I don't care who it hits, what it hits. Get it dirty, get it sloppy until something goes in. Another one of my grievances from the game last night, there should have been a penalty shot. Was it McAvoy? Covered it in the
had
crease.
his hand covering the puck. That was another one.
But that's the little shit. You're not going to get those lucky things if you have to earn them. With playing well and playing hard comes luck. You make your own luck, kind of that. And it's just, we are stuck in such a deep rut right now that we literally cannot even buy a bounce. The refs aren't looking to help us because we shouldn't need help. We're still the Colorado Avalanche.
Yep.
We're probably still on the top of some like cup contender list. Granted, we are falling drastically, but no one's going to feel sorry for us.
Oh yeah. And here's a couple of, I guess, thoughts to maybe help soothe the mind. Look at what Edmonton was last year to begin the season. Like 1 in 10 in the first 11.
Have you looked at the standings lately? The Preds
Nashville is winless. Edmonton has a win thanks to a lucky overtime.
5 of the top contenders are in the bottom teams within the standings. I mean, everybody is stumbling out the door, but you're slowly seeing Utah, Montreal. They're starting to lose the games that they should. The writing off pure vibes is fading, but the Edmonton Oilers have just as many serious concerns as we do, and they're not anticipating $37 million worth of talent coming back on their roster. So frankly, I think they're in a worse spot than we are.
Yeah. So again, if you look at the league around you, yes, it's not good for the Avalanche. That's a given.
Right.
But it's also not good for several other teams that are supposed to be playoff teams at minimum. Right.
And at least we're still scoring goals. We're scoring goals.
Yeah, we're still scoring. Like that's at least offensive production is still there. Yeah. Right. Haven't been shut out.
The other teams can't say the same.
But to say that you scored 4 goals and lost.
Yeah.
That's what you got to fix.
Yeah.
So for me, kind of going forward, the only thing I want to see is just play a simple game of hockey. And that goes for everyone. Like as far as Georgiev, assume 30 shots a game. Just stop 27.
Slow the game down.
I'm okay with 3.
Yeah.
Because I know the Avalanche can surpass that. Right. But just slow the game down. Don't
see
don't
his
rush yourself. Don't panic yourself.
Poke checks and stuff. You can see him going for more poke checks than we've ever seen out of him. And
here's the thing. I liked every single poke check he did, but it's just the stupid tough luck.
So what I said is, at what point is a goalie simply not playable because his luck is too bad? At what point does it not matter how good he is because he is the most cursed goalie that ever played in the NHL?
I don't know. I would probably say if he's trying to fire the puck around the boards and it has a bad bounce and goes straight into the net.
Yeah, you can't beat that because there's times even when he's playing some of his best games that everything that can go wrong for him will. And that's what I've said it before. At what point? Sorry, dude.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I was texting Mike, our good follower Mike, and he was just like, okay, like, at what point do I need to start worrying? I said, listen, to me, watch 10 games.
Right. It's a 10
and
games.
then make a decision, because by then an eighth of the season is over and the earliness of the season effect has kind of worn off, and you can see yourself in a much more purer way.
They lost? The Edmonton Oilers lost the majority of the first 18 games of their season last year. Was it 18 games?
I thought it might have been 11, but 18 could just be just as viable.
So you can't say that there's no coming back, but I believe in a 10-game segment. And if we lose tomorrow, that means we can't even come out better than 500 on a 10-game segment. But truly, the general indicator is American Thanksgiving is where you pack it in.
Yep. Yep.
At this point, it feels like we could be looking at where we do pack it in. If our pick currently sits with the Flyers for the first round of next year, unless it's a top 10 protected. And at this point, it doesn't feel out of reality that it might be in the top 10, which is horrifying.
Could be. But the good news is, and we'll kind of jump into this now, you do have a favorable schedule.
For sure.
In theory, coming up for the next 3 games, right?
You gotta
so let's talk about those.
Don't you?
Say that again?
Don't you think that at this point, a road trip is probably good for them?
It potentially could be, right? And you have one coming up, right? So you have one more game at home against Anaheim, which that's one. Well, I'll get to that in a second. So you have one more home game against Anaheim. Then you're on the road against the Sharks, and then against the Kraken.
West Coast, yeah.
Right. Then you finish up the road trip at Utah, and then it's back home again. But the ones that we'll talk about up until next episode are just the first 3. So at home against the Ducks, and then at Sharks, at Kraken.
Which I just want to point out, there was chance against Georgiev. I can't even remember what they were saying, but it's disgusting. If anybody thinks that us booing or having negative chance towards any of our own players is going to do anything to help, it's honestly beyond embarrassing to me.
Yeah, I agree. So looking ahead at these 3 games, Brit, 2 of these teams are projected. Everyone has them pinned as 2 of the bottom 3 teams.
Right.
Finishing this season, right? That's good, right? Because that means you can just go right back down to fundamental hockey. Right? Find yourself. I think that's exactly the way I would put it too. Just relax and play hockey, right? So let's talk about the Ducks first, right? They just came off an overtime win against Utah. Utah did struggle in that game. I will give them that excuse. But the Ducks, nonetheless, they are fired up because they have all this new talent, so to speak.
Electronic ducks floating in the air. How could they not be excited? Did you see the video of those?
That was pretty cool.
I love it.
But they do have this new core, so to speak, that they're having around Leo Carlson and Frank Petrano. Radko Gudas is a really good captain for them. So they're finding a new identity. And they
have an incredible coach. They have a very, very
and Cronin is a fantastic coach. We know he was with us and as Eagles coach for
ideally
how long?
When they ultimately fire him, because I feel like he's a stepping stone coach. So I hope to see him
potentially. Anyway, my keys to the game for the Ducks game is this: it is your final home game for a few days, right? You need to give Avalanche fans, just the Denver area, or Avalanche fans like us in general, give us something to latch on to. A win is something we can latch on to, right? Or even an overtime loss, I'll take at this point, because you at least have a point.
Period. We have not won a single period.
Yeah. We've had leads, but we haven't won periods. I think you're exactly right. So that's one of my keys to this game is you need to give the fans something to enjoy. Right now, and I'm not saying it's become bad hockey, right? It has been, but
I have never felt so. I've shut games off for my mental health out of anxiety or whatever, but I have never genuine, and I'm a passionate hockey watcher, and I've gone to bat so many times for Georgiev, for Makar's bad times, but I've never felt so much disgust that Columbus game. I truly could have cared less if I watched it or not. And generally, I'm bitching and moaning because I can't get the games on fast enough or proper enough. They're really, really hurting the fan base right now. And it's going to take some effort to bring them back because there's a lot of casual fans that they're not going to pay $20 now to
They're shut off by it.
I've never felt so disenchanted since the dark times.
Yeah. See, I'm still just as excited for every game day as anybody, but it's more of the I kind of start to get the feeling of the here we go again.
But we need that we're back feeling immediately.
Exactly. And so, like I said, for that first key,
yeah, I completely
get a good feeling back. Know that it's
from the first second of the game, goaltending
just
and
start
offensively.
That's my second key to the game.
At the same time, unfortunately,
preferably at the same time would be fantastic. Yeah. But goaltending, as far as Georgiev or Anaheim, whoever starts in whatever game,
and that's what we're still waiting on. Capo, his name. I just want to. It's all just a mix of Capper, and like. But yeah, Capo. It was Canadian Thanksgiving and then Columbus Day. So apparently, it's been quite a fiasco getting him all visa certified. But if he's there, I say you start him, and I don't think that as much blame goes on Anaheim, but he hasn't earned shit either. So if there's ever been a time for Kapanen to prove everyone wrong, because he's supposed to be good. He's just lost every job. And if there was a time for him to come out for an FU tour, here it is, baby. We are ripe and ready for somebody to come out.
You have the right team at the right time for it.
And my God, will we fall in love with you faster than you can even, get your gear off at the end of a game. We're going to be declaring him the mayor of the city.
There you go. But that is my second key is whoever is starting, just
do you
play
think that can you
solid.
Start Georgiev?
I would say yes, but Anaheim needs to have one of these games.
Right. I think for his sake, we need to put it away and let it sit. I'm a huge believer in playing them through their problems, but at this point, we're too deep. It's so far beyond him.
See, like for me,
I don't know if this is the answer. You almost kind of think that you'd rather watch Capo struggle, and then you'd say, "Well, he just moved." Blah blah. But
in a perfect world, I would rather how I would like to see this unfold. Obviously, 3 wins, but Georgiev wins at home. He gets to rest down with a win. He can relax, get that weight off his shoulders, then start Anaheim in net against San Jose. Right. Give him a nice confidence boost against San Jose, win there, and then put Georgiev right back in against Seattle.
That game, is it the end? If we start him tomorrow and he loses, is that the end of any chance?
I don't know.
Not that it's even an option. Honestly, you got to keep coming back to it's not really an option. This is the dude.
No, like this is your tandem, right? Yeah. So again,
it's not my decision.
Just play solid. Like that's all. Just you don't have to play perfect.
That's what it's gonna ride right back up.
A goal or 2 might slip in, or even 3, but don't let that
just
get
score
you
more than them.
Just put it in the hands of the offense and be like, "Okay, I'm locking myself down from anything, despite what the defense does. I will pull in my weight, despite some lapses that may occur." Right?
And I do think that Georgiev probably took a relatively positive mindset from the game the other night. I feel like
against Boston, he played pretty all right. Now, I will also go back to the last thing that we were talking about as far as Georgiev. He had some pretty incredible saves in all those games. Every single one.
There was one where
that's an easy goal
in front of the net.
There were a lot of times where he made some very important saves, whether it was a breakaway chance or a down in front, easy open net chance.
The one that we just doinked it right into the passing lane directly in front of the net, and he was there for an immediate one-timer off our own stick, 2 feet in front of the – and I just wanted to post on Twitter, that's the save he's not supposed to make. That's the save he's not supposed to make. Like, we do need to acknowledge he
So
is
you need
making
to acknowledge that, right?
Exactly.
But it's just about cleaning up the rest of the technique, right?
Well,
Which I think
he could go into tomorrow's game feeling as good as he felt this year.
And I think that's exactly right. You know, it's the 5th game. The season is still very young. All right.
And
so
need to support him.
And a good support is always what needs to happen to make him feel confident, right?
Yeah.
So that being said, those were my keys to the game for the Anaheim game. You have to keep in mind that they will also want to win the game, right? So don't take your foot off the gas if you have a lead.
They're feeling good. That win against Utah's not a pushover. I mean, they are in
Utah
some aspects,
was scoring at will against their first 2 games.
Yes.
Yeah. So they were doing amazing. They could score 5 goals on you without even looking. Their offense is so fast.
Anaheim, dude, I think that Utah is truly the most entertaining team in the NHL right now. Their game,
now, I'd agree.
when I was texting you, that St. Louis game, that was the most excited I have been watching an NHL game short of my team winning the Stanley Cup. That was the most like joyful, just holy shit, every single play. Everything was answered. They're so fun to watch. And the Ducks are getting there. They are trying to inject joy in their association.
Exactly. And that's what I was saying is they have this new identity that they're trying to create.
Yes.
However, I don't want them to find this new gear against us, right? So that's why I'm saying if you play this with this urgency, kill 60 minutes. Exactly. I think you're right. Okay, moving on. You then go to San Jose, my little brother team, right?
I know they're pretty much mine too. Do we get a Celebrini? Is he back yet?
Potentially. I think they put him on IR, which I think is 3 games. Okay.
I thought it was like 7. Yeah.
However long it might be 7. I can't remember.
I know that you're hurt, but we really need you to play the
I don't know. Well, is Celebrini IR? I don't know if he's IR. Maybe he was just listed as out.
I thought they did full-blown IR, but
anyways, this is a team where they are projected to be dead last. However, I watched that game against Dallas.
Most fun you'll ever have watching them dead last.
That team has a togetherness like you would not believe.
Because they're playing on pure feelings. I mean, they know, and there's so much to be had from a team that knows nobody is expecting. Playing loose is always going to give unexpected outcomes, and that's with the goaltenders. Playing loose is the best place your goalie can be. This whole team, they're playing with house money, and they don't give a shit if they lose, so they're going to take that whack-ass play, and it doesn't matter if they get it wrong, but a lot of the times they're getting it right.
They took a Dallas – they took a fully healthy Dallas team to shootouts. At Grant, and that's kind of where everything fell apart. But still, the fact that was the case, where Dallas had to come back and score to tie, like that Sharks team,
they're almost more stressful.
They have a lot of making that they could play spoiler in a lot of games.
And it's going to run dry. That does run its course to where
it does. But at this point, I kind of hope it doesn't. To be honest with you,
I'll be mad to see them knock the Kings out of the playoffs. I'm fine.
Yeah. So do I see this as a trap game?
Yes.
Not if you allow it. Right?
Oh no, man. Part of me, I'd rather play Boston again than play the Sharks right now.
Potentially. I could see why.
We are good at blowing games that look too simple.
Yeah. My key to the game is this. Your offense, the Avalanche offense, whatever is put out on the ice, whoever is out on the ice, they are better than the goaltending that is produced in San Jose. Exactly. Now, that's not to throw any shade against Vitek Vanacek or Blackwood, Mackenzie Blackwood. Both are perfectly serviceable.
There's a reason Blackwood is played for every team in the NHL in the last
year. And that's exactly right? Is he's not an elite tier goalie, right?
We generally make them look elite. It's those goaltenders.
Well, there is that effect.
We make them look good.
But my objective is to drop a 5 on them. Like show that your offense means business, and you just play shut down defense, right? Despite them having this chemistry, they are a very young team with Will
Right.
Smith and William Eklund and Macklin Celebrini. All these
Which
kids,
a team like ours should be able to capitalize on as much as anyone
exactly.
in this
Pound for
league.
pound, you are better in every facet. So you need to now demonstrate that, hey, these 4 losses, back window, you racked up, hopefully, a win against Anaheim, and now you're starting to roll in this process. So that's one of my keys to the game is your offense is better than their goaltending. Prove it, right? Second key to the game, and this honestly could go for any of them, but is do not commit these stupid little penalties, because right
Oh
now
my
you're
God, Shillington, for the love of
because
God.
your penalty committing is so embarrassing. It's not even one of those like, dang it, you caught us. It's one of those,
Especially
why
when they
did you
come
do
on the
that
back
one?
of a goal, and then we are immediately giving up an answer
Yep.
to our goals,
Like I
destroying
think
any ounce of momentum.
in 3 of those 4 games that we just had, you gave them basically back-to-back
Yeah.
penalties.
The
And
rate
they
in which
scored
we
on
are
them.
allowing goals immediately after scoring is such a problem, because momentum is such a huge factor in these games, and you just work and work and work and get your goal, and you're supposed to ride that, but then we're immediately letting in goals, and there's no way to win a game, because then everything that you just clawed for is gone.
Yep.
It
And
sucks
San
to win,
Jose
and
is
that
in the
comes down
same.
to goaltending too. We need
Yeah,
goaltending to keep that momentum.
exactly. San Jose is in the same boat as you, where they tend to score most of their points off of penalty or power plays right now. So don't give it to them.
Right.
Your penalty killing has not
They're
been
fast.
what we were hoping it would, despite the fact that you have Logan O'Connor back out on the ice. You know,
Granted, Logan O'Connor, good majority of our bottom 6, 0 points. Our bottom 6 is
exactly.
absolutely worthless.
Cal Ritchie had a great
Sort of.
goal, by the way,
I know, but he is so.
but he hasn't been served. But he
The
hasn't
goal
been much
was
other than
beautiful,
that.
but other
I
than that,
agree.
he's about 2 steps behind on every single play that I've seen
Yep.
him on the ice, and they're
Yep.
not getting a whole lot of ice time as it is. So you should
So
probably work a little bit harder.
I agree. So that's my second key to the game. My third key to the game for this one is just that, actually. It's going to be your penalty killing.
Yeah.
And again, could go for every game. I want to see it particularly in this
Right.
game
I
because
hate
this is
making
where
special teams a point of emphasis. It's always a point of emphasis.
it always should be.
But we're literally having to utilize the most basic shit, goaltending and special teams. Like, duh, that's a key to the game. We should be talking about more specific things,
More
but
technical aspects.
we're not executing the most basic parts of hockey.
Yep.
So here we are dumbing it down. Do the dumb, important stuff right.
Exactly. And that's really what it needs to come down to is you need to be able, because I'm sure penalties will occur in this game. You need to be able to.
They're sloppy. They're a sloppy, messy team, and that's going to happen.
You need to A, show that you can clean it up, and B, show that you can stay clean if you make a mistake. Right. You can't go around letting them be 3 for 7 on power plays or whatever, because that means A, they have 3 goals. B, you committed 7 penalties.
Exactly.
Right. So
Brandon, looking at you. I don't know. Do you think? I don't know if Shillington will make it to the next game, but honestly, we might not
find out.
I'd imagine. Nice to bring Wagner in. He's definitely someone that I felt would have helped a little bit in this last game. It just felt like we had too much. We could use him, and I think he's going to be a good presence. Granted, he's gotten some pretty dumb penalties too.
He has.
But I just think that he's a good steadying. Won't get no goals, but he will also calm it down, not letting it go. So.
I agree. And then you have the Kraken game. So let me make sure I had that right as far as I don't think I read you guys off the schedule. So Ducks tomorrow, Friday, the 18th at 7. Sharks at Sharks Sunday at 6. And then at Kraken.
A nice little California swing, like go on the West Coast, get some sun, go to the beach, pet a dolphin, like
ride a shark.
Yeah. Punch you in the face, like give it a nice slap and get on your way to it.
Go steal a cracker out of a seagull's mouth. It'll be fun. It'll be so much
don't
fun.
let the seagulls what a good seagull rant would do for the vibes right now.
and then at Kraken Tuesday at 6:30. That's a weird time for a Pacific game,
and
but
it's
whatever.
Just the Kraken I feel like they're always going to be, what are they, man? What are the Kraken?
This is one where like the Kraken are always they're bottom feeders in the inaugural season. Second season they beat you in the playoffs.
Yep.
Third season they're not even close to the playoffs. So is this another up season for them?
I don't
know. They do have Montour. They do have Chandler Stevenson. They have a lot of new pieces.
Just saying Joey Decord to a fresh new contract. So much for he was my boy. That's what I wanted. We're seeing these teams are taking their good goalies and they're watching us struggle and they're like, oh shit, let's sign these dudes because we've seen Swayman, Decord, Ottinger signed his contract.
Ottinger got one today.
Yeah. Was it the exact same contract as Swayman?
I didn't actually see the terms. All I saw was that he signed an 8-year. So I don't know the number.
Which is wild because I consider Swayman way more proven than Ottinger. Ottinger to me is still, and I love Jake Ottinger, but he's shit the bed real hard at some very important moments. He's still up in the air a little. I think he'll age well. He's young. He's a baby, but Swayman's got to be like, you freaking kidding me, man? All that fight so that guy.
Well, to be fair, as far as playoffs is concerned, Ottinger has taken his team farther over the last couple of seasons.
When he's good, he's good.
When he's good. When he's game 7 Ottinger against Calgary, he's on fire. Anyway, so keys to the game for Seattle. This is one that I saw, especially in the Vegas game. When you have the chance to clear the puck out of your zone, please do so. Like, don't around with it. Just
nothing makes
out. I don't even care.
Than when dumb shit like that happens.
Yeah, I don't even care at this point if it ices the puck. Get it out. Like,
take a penalty and put it over the glass. Put somebody in the face.
Too many times the Avalanche have been burned from the last 4 games because of sustained offensive time from the opposing team. Yeah. They couldn't clear the puck. They were dead tired. Just everything just started to accumulate.
It's coming down to being too fancy. Stop thinking.
Yeah, it's
thinking so much.
It's like you don't need to turn around, look and see where you can fire. It's like, dude, backhand it over something. I don't care what. Right?
Which, for the love of God, thank goodness, it sounds like Taves should be back. It sounds like he was questionable for last night, and has it been an injury or an illness?
Oh, geez.
I feel like
I thought it was an injury.
We've never had any idea that it was coming or how long it would last. He doesn't ever have these like Miles Wood moments, like pounding on the ground in agony. It's always a surprise that Taves is hurt. So I think that he'll be back. Shockingly, sounds like Miles Wood is not nearly as serious. I thought his ribs are broken or his wrist is broken. Something.
Or he died. I mean, my gosh, that hit.
Collapsed in a way that probably hurts more when you're that big and wide. He's built like an Olympic swimmer, and the way that his shoulders touch together, but supposedly it must have just been an in the moment thing. It sounds like he should be back, which never thought that you would so desperately crave Miles Wood in the lineup. But between Devontae's being back and keeping Miles Wood, it's a big difference, man.
Yeah, 100%. My second key to this game is depth scoring. And you touched on this, Brit, just a little bit ago. Apart from Middlestat, McKinnon and Rantanen, and then Makar occasionally, who? It's like you haven't really had much.
Especially 5-on-5.
Yeah. So this one for me, again, this would be a wonderful time for these rookies or young guns to showcase themselves.
Earning a spot to stay.
Earn a spot, right? On the road. It's going to be a gritty game, I'm sure, right? Especially if Grubauer's in net. You know how all the ex-Avalanche men play against the Avs, right?
I don't think they will. They always puss out of it. I don't know if we've had to play against him.
That's true. But then again, you saw what he did against us a couple seasons ago in the playoffs. Yeah. But either way, this is one where it's like depth scoring needs to be at the forefront. Yeah. It's like you can't always rely on a one-timer from McKinnon to Rantanen who just sitting there in the circle.
They can't literally be on the ice the entire game.
Yep. You need to go out and provide aid, right? And a lot of that time is you're going to have to score, right?
Our hearts are aching for an LOC shorthanded goal.
Oh, boy. I tell you what, man, if I had 2 of those.
That'll turn stuff around real quick.
Oh my goodness, I could I could
We
go
were
steal a
close.
cracker out of a seagull's mouth,
no.
man. I tell you
Was
what.
it Miles Wood or LOC got the shorthanded breakaway? Was it Wood? My little brother's a Sharks fan. He was a Yotes fan, and he was so pissed off. He left the Blackhawks because of the whole controversy thing, and Kane was gone. So he's like, I have no love left. So he picked the Coyotes 2 years ago. And now he's just like,
it still happened to you, Todd.
I know. He's not. So now he's picked the Sharks. And
that's a good team.
He's not super into the Avs, but he'll watch. And he texted me the other night, and he's like, holy crap, Miles Wood is really fast. I'm like, yeah, one of the fastest in the NHL, to be exact. I think
him, McKinnon, and LOC are screaming fast, man.
And it's so wild to see it from such a large human like him. So that's what Miles Wood, I feel like he's due for a couple big ones. Hopefully he comes out angry and not lingering pain. Here's the dogs. They know. They're like, you got 5 minutes left. We know.
They know.
So weird.
Like clockwork, man. Okay, so if that's the case, I do have my final key to the game. So just in time, Captain, you get to hear this one.
I know. Cap's like, excuse me, sir.
You get to hear this one. My final key to the game is that Seattle tends to be a very defensively logistical team, right?
Very got that Islanders feel, that drudging.
Exactly. They're very smart defensively, very disruptive. You can never really get a flow. Boring, there's all that, whatever you want to call it. But under this new head coach, and with these new additions of Brandon Montour and Chandler Stevenson, they have started to change.
Montour he's on one. This is a year for him.
He got his cup, and now he's off to get his bag, and now he's going to play for it, right?
And so this is his. Have you watched so much? I think he's looking to make this his team. I mean, that team lacks identity deeply. And I think he's looking, I know their captain, Eberle.
Yep.
They're just so boring. They're so boring. I cannot stand them. But I think that Montour is working to make it his team. I really do. And I like him.
I agree. So the key to the game is to play a full 60 minutes. Because despite Seattle being a boring quote unquote team,
I know.
They have endurance like crazy.
They do, and that's how they beat us in the playoffs by line after line after line. Line 1s through 4, they accomplished their goal at every single line on every single shift. Was it fancy? No. Was it fun? No. But the
machine just kept rolling.
Yeah.
Yep. They just were a machine. That was it. So you need to become a machine.
Exactly what we need to be doing.
Yep, 100% agree. So those would be the keys to success for the Seattle game. Obviously, with these now 3 kind of a little broader look, all 3 are winnable.
They are. And they're all 3 embarrassing.
You got to breathe. We need to relax, play your game, and just take it one at a time, one period at a time if you must. Right? In fact, that's preferred.
Get in a flow state because
just get a flow, play a full 60, play with urgency, and the rest should ultimately, because you have a good enough offense despite the injuries, it should play itself out without any issues.
I think a loss tomorrow is going to be entering a new realm of despair. We have to come out. I don't give a shit how we do it tomorrow. But we've got to get a win tomorrow. We simply cannot go in there and play like we've played. And it just shouldn't be that hard. They've got just as many rookies as we do.
Yeah.
They're just having more fun.
Plus, my heart couldn't take another rant-filled text from Brit. Oh, don't want that. So Avalanche, please win. Please.
That's the politically correct way of everybody is sick of me bitching and moaning.
I can't take another rant from Brit, man.
My family group text.
I haven't seen that many F words in a text in years.
God, the rants, and it's just so different to lose wholeheartedly than it is to lose so half-ass. It is. Can't. And then to have to read and listen to national media who never talks about us until it's time to talk smack about our goalie.
Talk crap on you.
Yep. I cannot do it. Making fun of my goalie. Yes, he sucks, but he's mine, and only I can say he sucks.
That's right.
He's an all-star.
You can't pick on my little brother. That's my job.
I know. I hate it so much. Matilda Jane.
All right. Okay, well, that takes us right to the end, Captain. Don't worry, you're going to get fed here.
Who needs an alarm when you got a hungry sheepdog?
Thank you, everyone, for following and joining us on this episode of the Clusterfuck Podcast. Again, don't hit the panic button. Everything is going to be okay. We'll get a win.
Rub it gently. Stroke it.
Just look at it. That's about the most I'll accept at this point. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow the MHRT network so you can get notified when shows like the Clusterfuck Podcast go live. You can do so on the various social media platforms of your choosing. If you want to follow us, you can follow us at the Clusterfuck Podcast on Facebook and at Clusterfuck Abs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. With that being said, we're gonna breathe. We're going to win 3 games. We're going to be confident. We're going to win 3 games. And the next time we talk, we're going to be very happy about the outcome.
Just go take a minute to watch the Stanley Cup documentary from 2 years ago. It feels really good. I had to watch a little bit of it.
If you need a confidence boost, let's do that for sure.
Get all the vibes. Listen to some Blink.
Good. With that being said, we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Fall is here. Temperatures are dropping, so get bundled up. Hockey, it's hockey weather, man. So we're excited for it. So have a great weekend, everyone. And as always, go Avs, go.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what? This is my lifestyle. Wait a minute.